Okay, we're live, Joe.
Hey,
What's up, buddy?
how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm uh I'm getting to put on my do not disturb because my little group of friends are texting the shit out of each other. Hold on. So what's happening, man?
Uh, hmm.
That
I
good,
don't know,
huh?
man. I've been waking up at 4 every day. That's the one thing that's happening,
That's ugly.
and it's trying to stay up at night, and I keep falling
Yeah.
asleep at like 9 o'clock or something, and then I'm just
No.
screwed.
I'd like to be on a
Um,
cycle of like 10 to 5 would be good for me, but not there yet.
but the problem is when I go to bed early, it's just I wake up earlier. Like the other
Right.
night, I woke up at 2, and
Yeah.
you're like, so you get up and work for an hour and then go back to sleep. But God, I used to remember I could just sleep for 10 hours,
Oh yeah.
and it wasn't that long ago. It wasn't like when I
No,
was
no, man.
18.
I know what you mean.
So,
I know what you mean.
but that's
Uh,
going on. Today is what? Today's tax day. Today's the beginning of Passover. Um, it's warming up down here, so we're getting ready to roll into summertime, which is
all
pretty
right.
cool.
That's good. That's good
How
news,
about
man.
you? What have you been doing?
Too much shit and not enough time, dude. I'm so far behind on everything. It hurts, including episodes of Mission DeFi that need to get out, but not going to happen today for sure.
I am surprised at how busy I am as well. I just don't. I guess because we're grinding it out at this point in the market.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to do a lot
Exactly.
more stuff, and you really got to. It's not like up only where you're just like, oh wow, wake up 40%. Yeah, sell it. Oh, down
Exactly.
5, buy more.
Exactly.
It's like
Exactly.
you're just rotating, and every day you're up 20% on one. Now it's like, trying to find the next thing, waiting for the next wave, looking at different areas. I mean, I see a lot of great stuff out there. I see everything in the market to me says that we're getting set up here for something big.
Yeah.
Just all the money flowing in. I mean, everything looks good to me. We just need something to, you know, the catalyst to
Yep.
drive it. I mean, I
Yep.
did hear some speculation that some people were saying, I can't remember who it was. I think it was in that Arthur Hayes article I wrote. He was talking about how a lot of people woke up to the fact that when the West froze the central bank money from Russia, of what that means. And
Right.
I'm like, well, look, that's just a bigger example of what goes on all the time. It's
Yeah.
like,
Exactly.
but a lot of heavy hitters now are starting to think that through. That you know, um, if stuff goes bad, can people just take it? And it's sort of kind of, I mean, it kind of looks like it to me. So, you need that.
Sure
As I always
does.
say, keep that lawyer money handy, but maybe it
Yeah.
doesn't need to be in a bank.
Yeah. Put it in.
Um,
Put it in crypto or
yeah.
under the
So,
mattress. One of the two.
but yeah. So other thing I watched. I don't know if you ever watched the latest season of Billions, but
No, I haven't caught up. I'm way
it's
behind on that too.
I think it's super weak. I mean, once Axe
Oh,
left, it's just
bummer.
well, it's like how in the first four
Don't
or
give
five
any
seasons.
spoilers. No
No, no,
spoilers.
no spoilers. But the one thing that annoys me is in the first years there was only one guy who did all these pithy literary quotes and drawing on, and it was Chuck Rhodes.
Right.
He was the only one. But now it's like everybody in the show does it. From the
That's
hedge
silly.
guy to the paralegal runaround dudes for the DA's office, everybody's, and even
That's
like the
silly.
analysts, it just kind of gets boring. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's the
Yeah.
last. I think the season finale was recently, and I think that's the last season. And good riddance at this point. But
Yeah, look, I mean, as all these shows end up kind of in a rut eventually,
yeah.
So anyway,
But what do we have
um,
here? What do you got up?
so this is a book I've been listening to in the car while I drive children around, whatever. So Laura Shin, she's has two podcasts. She gets all the big names in crypto on her show. I find her style a little bit dry to listen to, but people like her, people love her. So I've been listening to her book called The Cryptopians, which is essentially the entire story of the founding of Ethereum, and it is
Oh,
absolutely fascinating. And if you thought Charles Hoskinson was of Cardano was a complete nutbag before, after you read or listen to this book, you will you will not want to touch Cardano. I mean, it's like, what a nutbag, man. He was telling people he was Satoshi. He was telling other people he was intimating that he was Satoshi. He was saying that he met that he was special forces and somehow in Afghanistan, that he was working for the CIA. I mean, oh my God, dude, this guy was, they actually, when they fired him, because he was ordained himself CEO of Ethereum, right? And there was a big debate going on about whether or not this would be a nonprofit or this would be a company, like, and Hoskinson and a few people wanted it to all be Google-ish, own the data, track the users, the whole bit. And another group wanted it to be open source and, a nonprofit in Switzerland. And I mean, it's just astounding that he even got that far in the process. I mean, ultimately it comes down to Vitalik had to make the final call on getting rid of people that were extra baggage and Charles, but he admits in the interviews that he did for the book that he just doesn't do well with confrontation. So he kind of just lets shit simmer, Anyway, really fascinating book. She narrates it, and again, I'm not a fan of her vocal style, but it's still a really, really fascinating read, and it gives you kind of, kind of had this big picture view of Ethereum and how it formed and Vitalik and all that, but this gives you a lot more insights into the human beings building it and the shit they went through and the fights and the things they accomplished. It's really good so far. I'm probably, quarter of the way through it, but so far it's fascinating.
Quick question. How's Joe Lubin play in it?
Not great. Not great. No. He now look, he put money in, but a lot of people so far where I am at this point, the indications about him were that he was sleazy. Everyone felt like at any moment he would, screw everybody over if he had to. And he's not painted well so far, but he also put money in when they were running out of money before they did the token sale. So he saved it, and that gave him some leverage, I guess. But at the end of the day, I don't think he added a lot of value besides that. I also think there was probably some bias against him in general because he was ex-Goldman Sachs. Mm-hmm. So I think the developers in general, they talk about the fact that developers didn't like any of the business people. Vitalik had enough sense Vitalik had enough sense to realize that the business people were setting up their legal structure, and that was critical. And so even though they were like all asking him to get rid of them and just keep developers for the time being, he fought them and said, no, we've got to have this legal process set up. But there was all kinds of shit, people, money grabbing and all kinds of craziness. But it's fascinating read, and I recommend it. I'm enjoying it. I'm really.
Hey, final question. Any new people in there other than Vitalik, Joe, and Hoskinson?
Well, I knew about some of them, Gavin and some of the others, the original developers. I knew of them. You get a lot better sense of their personality, and then there's a whole tier of people that probably don't get any credit. They're probably all worth hundreds of millions of dollars right now, because they all got part of the founders' shares. They did a really unique thing on the pre-mine. So what they decided to do, they were, the developers were arguing, look, we're building the actual frigging network, right? Mm-hmm. And so why should everyone else that's just kind of doing other stuff around the business of it or whatever, why should they get equal shares of the tokens? And I don't know if Vitalik decided this. They're not clear about how the decision was made, but at the end of the day, they decided to do equal distributions based on, so there was a 10 million pot, I guess. And the idea was that every month from the beginning, and it had been November, everybody that was working for the project would get an equal share of the distributions that were divided up for that month, right? So let's say it was over a 5-month period. Everybody that worked in November and December and everything would get an equal distribution, and the people that were working half and quarter time would get, half or quarter of it. And it actually sounds very fair, but I mean, to be completely fair, people like Gavin and Vitalik were doing far more to drive forward Ethereum than a lot of other people on that team. But they just didn't, I think they just were like, fuck it, I don't want to get into this back and forth and negotiating and dealing with it. So Vitalik was the only person working on the project in November, right? So he got the largest initial because he got a whole month of the distribution to himself, right? And then as people had joined in November, December, January, February, March, then each of them got added to pulling apart what was available for that month. But, you know, end of the day, Vitalik's a billionaire. I'm assuming a couple of others are close to that or are, and, you know, they some of them still complain about it to this day that they didn't think it was fair, but you know, it is what it is. How much money do you fucking need?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we run into that problem sometimes, and you know, sometimes I figure if you know everybody, sometimes it's just easier to give everybody equal shares.
Yep.
And just go because everybody versus like going through all the structure of, oh yeah, you get a quarter point,
and then let it go. Right. Yeah. After that, after you've made the fucking decision, stop grousing about it. Just move forward.
If you're going from, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Some people are going to contribute more. Some people are going to contribute less. And then that may shift later on. It's just, it is what it is.
There's too much money. And
exactly.
If you're going for huge money and all of a sudden, you know, your shares, assuming everybody, it all works, is $500 million and everybody else gets 500 and you're like, oh, but I worked more than that person. It kind of seems ridiculous at that point.
It just gets nuts. It gets nuts. Look, I understand kind of the motivation and why people feel that way, but at the end of the day, after it's been done, it's done. You're not changing it, so move ahead. Everybody's got their tokens. Anyway, I recommend the book. It's really well researched. I mean, during the course of researching this book, she's the one, with the help of some analysts and some other people, on-chain analysis people. She's the one that figured out who the hacker was of the DAO that caused the fork that left us with Ethereum Classic and Ethereum, and named him and published an article because of this research she was doing. And she did, I mean, I saw an interview with her. The amount of interviews and research she did for this book is just unbelievable. I mean, like dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of interviews and document pulls and everything else. It's fascinating. So
how did she figure out who the hacker was?
Well, the hacker.
Or who was it?
So the hacker is out of Australia, I believe, and he's the founder of I don't remember his name, but he's the founder of a crypto project, right?
Oh.
And just before the DAO was going to go live, he was harassing the developers. The DAO was a separate entity. It wasn't Ethereum, right? I mean, it wasn't built by the Ethereum team, and the DAO was built by a company that wanted to create the DAO to use it to fund their company, but also to allow other people to put projects on it. And the guy who it turned out to be, let me find it so I'm not, the guy who it turned out to be actually was telling the developers beforehand, this isn't secure, there is a weakness here, this is what can happen, someone can steal the money, right? And so he was harassing them and telling them that. They were ignoring him. And then after the hack, he was arguing that they shouldn't fork, right? Because he didn't want his value to drop of the tokens he had stolen, because his tokens would be the ones locked into Ethereum Classic, not Ethereum. And then there were messages that they could trace back through an ENS handle, I believe, and found something AI. And that linked back to an online messaging forum username, and that linked back to emails that had been sent to people, and it all just kind of tied up together, right? And so anyway, he had done some stupid, security, and hadn't properly, if he was going to do this, hadn't properly protected himself from being discovered. Let me find out.
It's funny. There's, in this day and age, when everybody does so much on social media and the internet and leaves just digital trails everywhere that never go away.
Yeah.
It's funny how these hackers undo themselves. It was like who were the ones that got caught recently? I think it was the BitMEX hack Bitfinex.
Was it Bitfinex? Yeah,
the couple
in New York. Yeah.
it was the same thing. It was a username and an email address, and they connected it to two messages.
Yeah.
So then when they knew that, then they got into the cloud and got the seed
Yes.
phrase.
So
Yeah.
Toby Henisch is he's Austrian, not Australian. Good job, Brad. And he's the CEO of a company called 10x. And he tried to use CoinJoin mixing, and Chainalysis helped trace it down. And then from there, that's where they found the messaging tied to his username. I'm trying to remember what that username was. It was like Toby AI or something like that. Something seriously obvious that got him busted.
God.
Yeah, in.tobyai and in.tobyai were the nodes for Grin that he was using, and somehow that was tied back to it. Anyway, bottom line, it's a good book. I really do recommend everybody get it and read it. It's great history that I didn't know a lot of details of. I just kind of always, listen and just, it puts all the pieces together. It's good stuff. So,
good
and the only way I get to read anymore is audiobooks. So do highly recommend it. So North Korea, responsible for the Ronin Axie Infinity hack, Joe.
Yep.
And, there are some folks saying that this is really bad for crypto. I, of course, don't agree, but the fact is that it doesn't make crypto look good that a country like North Korea, a total piece of shit, is able to do this. And so, but ultimately, it just comes down to people being idiots and not closing holes and not properly securing something. And that's what the folks at Ronin and Axie Infinity did. I mean, at the end of the day, they screwed up. And I'm hopeful they'll do better in the future, and they're paying everybody back, and all of that's great. But we've got to do better, and the auditors have to get better. We have to start using AI and machine learning to catch these folks. To catch the exploits before they are exploited. So
yeah, I would say that. I would put North Korea up in the top 5 list of hacker teams.
Oh, totally, man.
The
team on their team is called Lazarus.
Yeah, there was 2 teams, Lazarus and APT38, which I don't know what the APT, but obviously the 38 is reference to the 38th parallel.
Yeah,
which is the DMZ line.
Well, at the end of the day, look, again, it's another example of a country with limited computing resources turning out the best hackers, right? These people start with really limited shit. They don't have access to everything. They have to figure out shit as they go, and with low end hardware when they're kids and what they can get their hands on. And so, it makes them more creative, smarter about hacking. And so North Korea's, got it going on.
Yeah, it says here that according to Chainalysis, Lazarus has stolen an estimated 1.75 billion worth of crypto in recent years. Yeah, so they're going after targets for a while.
Oh yeah, no, they're very good. Now the question is whether they can get the funds out.
Yeah, it says here Treasury already sanctioned the wallet or cryptocurrency address, for the readers, that was used to cash out on the Axie Infinity hack. But I don't know if the coins were still in it. It doesn't say that. So
yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
but yeah.
I love the guys at Coin Center. I'm always out telling everyone to give them money because they do awesome work dealing with kind of regulatory issues, etc. Very smart, very driven. Peter Valkenburg is just a brilliant person and very reasonable guy. He's a libertarian, but he's not an asshole libertarian. And everything Coin Center does, to me, is top notch. I've given them money repeatedly over the years, and I encourage everyone to give them money. And here's an example. I tweeted, when you give money to Coin Center, you get a constant return on your investment in the form of protection from the forces that want to destroy financial freedom. If you value what DeFi is, give them money to help Valkenburg and team fight for us. Read the ROI. And then it was a series of tweets he put out yesterday that basically saying that the SEC's latest whatever they call it, hold on, ruling or attempt at ruling, basically changes the definition of an exchange from connecting two trades to connecting people. And his argument is that this is a direct violation of the First Amendment, because essentially they are regulating speech, because it is a communication between two people. Their goal with it is, what he's saying is their goal with it is to stop decentralized exchanges, right? Is to make it so that, and what he says is the problem with it is beyond that is that the developers, under the way the ruling is worded, that the developers of software would be liable under the SEC rule. So, they're seriously trying to get DeFi. He says the current definition regulates conduct, bringing together orders and using methods to effectuate trades. The new proposed definition would regulate speech as speech, bringing together buyers and sellers and making available communication protocols. So what they were trying to do is say, if you set up a system that allows people to communicate, to make these trades, then you are in fact an exchange, and now you must file for regulatory compliance, right? And his argument is, Peter's argument is that no, this is unconstitutional, and it is also a direct attack on decentralized exchanges, because at the end of the day, they're just software, right? And the people connecting together are not being done. It's not being done by the exchange to bring them together. It's two people trying to create an order, and that trying to regulate communication like that is unconstitutional. Anyway, really good read. I mean, I got to tell you, if you just go visit Coin Center, or you follow at Valkenburg, VALKENBURGH, you will get a constant education on the regulatory picture, on what we can do about it. They work their asses off to do research, and I really, really encourage everyone to go contribute money. If you give more than $50 too, you get a really cool Bitcoin T-shirt that I love. So
you have to wear it on the show one time.
Nice. James Strickland says, wanted to thank you guys for bringing Beanstalk to me. It's been an unbelievable money printer recently. Nice. James, what are you doing on the protocol? There's so many options. What are you, where are you staking there? What are you doing, bud? Want to come on the show and talk about it? I'm glad it's working for you, because they have some really APYs right now on some of the mechanisms. So anyway, give money to at Coin Center, COINCENTR. Just really, really worth the investment. This is an investment in your investments. This is an investment in DeFi and crypto in general. They do a great job. They have a lot of connections in the industry. They arm the attorneys with the documentation they need to fight the fight. He's doing the 3 curve LP staking. Very nice, James. Glad you're making bucks, man. Appreciate it. And so on another note on crypto, CZ and a bunch of other people talking in Paris at the Blockchain Paris conference, and saying overall they feel like regulators are starting to be more friendly to us. So that's great news, right? Maybe not Goldman Gary, but evidently the rest of the gang is starting to be friendlier to us as we go. The problem is that if we don't get the SEC on the team, we're still going to have a lot of fights on our hands, because ultimately they're the ones that can cause the most trouble. Wouldn't you say, Joe?
Yeah, but also I'd say I'm encouraged by the legislation that's on the Hill right now.
Good.
There's lots of different legislation moving through that's going to come out in the next year that will kind of put the guardrails up as to what can and can't be, kind of put some more. Because, I mean, I think the SEC stuff, I mean, I always talk about we have to have some type of regulation, but I believe there's a lot of bureaucratic politics going on between CFTC and SEC and Treasury right now. And Gensler's definitely gunning for something bigger than this role. And I don't know if it's back at the banks or if it's somewhere else, but, the scuttlebutt I hear is that, he's the only one who's really touting that. Yeah. That a lot of the other people are trying to, CFTC is trying to take it all for themselves too. But what's the SEC supposed to do? Regulate investments. Right. It's not supposed to be managing technology. Exactly. It's not supposed to be managing currencies or commodities or anything like that. And that's CFTC. So I think that bureaucratic rivalry is going to be interesting to watch, and then how the Treasury steers both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'd love to see, look, I'd love to see some of the other regulators get as hard ass as he is. I mean, you got to give it to him, man. When he goes for the grab, he goes for the grab, and he does not fuck around. He wants his power, he goes for it. So,
Yeah. But there's a lot of big money in crypto.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if you're the Wall Street guys, you're the BlackRock guys, I mean, you don't want it really regulated either.
No, of course not.
So expect a lot of pushback from all those people too if he starts getting into their money.
Yeah.
Which helps us because then he's not in anybody's stuff.
That's right.
But it's interesting. But I do agree with what CZ said. I saw a lot of activity and regulation going on, trying to clarify things over the last couple of months, and particularly the last couple of weeks. So I think that's a real positive too.
That's awesome. James, I'm so glad that's working out for you, man. I need to get back in there and play around with Beanstalk. I do have just about 10,000 pods that I won in a poker game, but I think those are maturing in, I don't know, probably 7 years. Yes, something like that. Because I'm like at the 600 million mark in the list. But it's for my grandchildren.
There you go. Legacy money.
Exactly. But I want to play poker, so that's awesome.
Yeah, that's even better because as everybody knows, what is it? Found money is much better than earned money.
Hell yeah. So.
Oh, really? I didn't see this. This is interesting.
He's such a piece of shit. I cannot stand fucking Justin. Well, here's why I started hating him. Like, look, I already thought he was a bit of a dick, but when I interviewed, hold on, let me pull this up. When I interviewed these folks, I mistyped our website. When I interviewed the folks from that took on Justin Sun. When I interviewed them, this is the episode, The Billionaire versus the Community, and how they won from losing. When Justin Sun took over his Steam network, right, and basically tried to screw over everyone and basically take over centralized control over it. There was an epic battle amongst the community against him. They tried negotiating, they tried doing all kinds of things. And I will tell you, this is not about me doing a good job on the podcast. It's really about listening to the two guys I interviewed talk about the emotions of what they went through and what it was like battling a billionaire for control of something that you guys had, all of these people in this community had built together, that was fairly successful, right? So he made this land grab. He tried to fuck everybody over. He lied to them. He cheated. He stole. And at the end of the day, they basically said, fuck you, we're forking it and we're going to make it better. And you can have your shell of a fucking network because we don't give a shit, right? And that's exactly what it became. And they did a brilliant job. But
what is their play called again? I'm sorry.
Oh God, I knew you were going to do that, and I'm sitting here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you had said it. I missed it.
That's all right. I can't remember I'm having a 57. Oh, Hive. They formed Hive blockchain, right? Okay. And essentially, Steam was formed to be a content social network blockchain where you could build things on it. The guys I interviewed founded a product called 3Speak, which is a decentralized YouTube, right? And they've done a brilliant job, and they're also working on some really cool community segmentation DAO stuff for Hive. But at the end of the day, this is such a human story about what these people went through, the lessons they learned trying to fight this guy. And it'll show you what an asshole he is. So when I see an article saying he's trying to outbid Elon Musk, I'm just like, first of all, the idea that he thinks that the board at Twitter is going to take any offer he makes tells you how out of fucking control his ego is, right? He's got all kinds of regulatory issues behind him. He has all kinds of bad deeds behind him. The fact that he actually believes that he could potentially outbid Elon Musk and Twitter would entertain his fucking offer is just, I mean, the board has to entertain the offer, but at the end of the day, there's no way in hell they're going to sell Twitter to him. That tells you everything you need to know about Justin Sun, though. I mean, there is no, from a regulatory perspective, from a background check perspective, there is no way in hell anyone is going to sell him Twitter. But he still thinks he can try to do it. So it just cracks me up.
Yeah, it's funny. Just a little more chatter on Elon's bid. The word on the street is that he bought the stake, that he's fucking with the SEC, but he bought the stake and then he pumped it up and he made the offer that they couldn't accept, threatening to sell his stake. So now he's up on his, how much did he put in? 10%, so 4 billion. So he's already up like 800 or 900 million on his investment. And then if they say we're not taking it, and then he dumps his stake, he walks out of there with like a 25% pop on 4 billion. So that's what everybody at Wall Street thinks he's doing. But I'm telling you, you do stuff like that. Now, that is what the SEC is going to go after, because Twitter's a public company.
Yeah, I genuinely don't believe he's playing that game. I don't think he gives a shit.
You don't think so?
No, I think he's got, look how much fucking money he has. Like, it's like, to him, making $700-800 million, I personally don't think he is.
Well, he doesn't have the 43 billion. That's the other thing they say. They don't know where he's going to get it.
Yeah, he actually. So I watched him on a TED Talk yesterday. It was a live interview with him, and the first thing I tweeted was, because the interviewer did an awesome job of grilling him, but they were friendly, and it was obvious. He's like it's first of all, it was obvious that he's doing this because he really wants to make Twitter decentralized and free, and no censorship, blah 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 blah.
He's a big pro-Trump guy, right?
No.
He's not.
I
thought that's what he was driving for here. I wasn't sure.
No. He's like, I think he's a libertarian mostly, like a lot of these guys from PayPal, Thiel and Sachs and him, but he's more about. I think all of his points of view are things that he thinks are rational and logical. But so he was all wrong in my perspective on COVID, and then he shifted his point of view. But I've never gotten the impression that he's MAGA. But I think he just believes that censoring people is bad. Of course, when the interviewer started asking him the really hard questions, right? He's like, well, we're only thing Twitter will censor is what the law in a given jurisdiction requires, right? And so then the guy started grinding him through a series of questions. Okay, you got a tweet that says Elon Musk is a jerk, and then you got another tweet that says I wish someone would kill Elon Musk, and then you got another tweet that's I wish someone would kill Elon Musk with a target on your head. He goes, where do you start censoring? And Elon was like, that's something I haven't thought through yet. And it was like, okay, dude, right? Like you really don't have any idea what you're about to get your shit into.
Exactly. Yeah.
No clue. Because I will tell you what, everyone that bitches and moans about the freedom of speech, and Twitter is a fucking village square, whatever the fuck they call it, and they shouldn't be censoring people. It's like, people, you have no concept what it is like to do that fucking job. And the only instances I've seen of people being censored that I have seen, and I'm sure there are examples where it was stupid or bad or wrong censoring, don't get me wrong, but the ones I've seen were people spreading hate speech and people sending, people like Weinstein saying that ivermectin cures COVID, right? That kind of shit.
Ivermectin what?
One of the Weinstein brothers was on this big kick that ivermectin would cure COVID, right?
Oh, Harvey?
Harvey's
brother?
Eric and I can't remember Eric's brother's name. Anyway, Eric Weinstein works for Peter Thiel. He's a venture capitalist, blah, blah, blah. And his brother is a professor who was wronged for some opinions he had on a campus and got blacklisted from academia, blah, blah. So
Peter Thiel's that way too. He's
they're all bitter and angry and blah, blah, blah. They're both fucking clickbait content producers is basically all they are. So he was doing this whole series of tweets about saying, essentially, he was saying that, ivermectin is a cure for COVID.
Yeah, I remember
and trying to claim there was scientific evidence to it. And he got censored because actually, the evidence didn't say that. And then later on, that a recent study of like 40,000 cases said it did absolutely nothing for it and was harmful. So those are the kinds of things I've seen. Well, put yourselves in the shoes of the guys that have to decide what tweets get killed.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it is a complex. I can't imagine having that job. I just can't.
Well, how could you even have a rule-based structure on it? I mean, it's like, unless you have words, you know?
Yeah. And what are you going to do? Have some AI running amok trying to figure out, what's dangerous, what's not?
Because there's intent of words, there's how you phrase, what it's near. I mean, it's a mess.
It's a mess, a total mess. And so the fact that somebody as brilliant as Elon hasn't thought it through and made this gut, like, I mean, seriously, you make a $42 billion offer for something and you haven't thought through your entire agenda, which is to make it free.
Yeah.
It's like, dude.
But all of his shit's like 420 too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always playing on the weed stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like, do people really, I mean, I don't have a problem with people, partaking, but it's like if someone's running, almost $1 trillion, well, not a trillion, but a lot of friggin' money. I mean, is that really the guy you want running it?
Yeah. But I will tell you, he went through beyond the Twitter thing. During the interview, it was a TED Talk yesterday. It was live. I don't know why it was live. I guess TED's going on right now. During the interview, he talks about the 3 years he spent sleeping on the floor of the factory at Tesla because the Model 3 was such a gargantuan manufacturing fuck up, and how he was like sleeping on the floor in the facility, and every single day he and the team trying to figure out how to solve the hundreds of problems they had created with the way they built that factory. It was really fascinating to listen to. And he talked about how it was the worst 3 years of his entire life. Like, he was absolutely in pure misery. His friends thought he was going to lose his fucking mind because he was so insanely crazed about the whole thing. And the interview asked him, said, well, do you think maybe in hindsight you should have just let them do it? He's like, no, it would have never, ever been solved. He goes, it would have never been solved. Tesla would be bankrupt and it would be all over. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. I can't wait to read that story when it comes out. That alone would be a pretty amazing story, book, movie, whatever you want to call it. So
I was just, when you said that, and he was going, it's the worst 3 years of his life, I was thinking, well, what about all the people on the team?
Yeah.
3 years on the factory floor with
Elon. Him on the floor and him crazed and freaking out,
I'm surprised nobody choked him out, basically. It's like 3 years of putting up with his shit. God, man.
Yeah, no, it's fucking crazy, dude. So Wikipedia's done with cryptocurrency.
What the hell was this about? I just saw this tag and I didn't really read the article.
Voted not to take cryptocurrency donations anymore. 232 people voted against it. And it's just like, these are supposedly the people writing all these. I mean, you got to be a pretty fucking smart person to be editor status at fucking Wikipedia, right? I mean, you got to have knowledge. You got to have insights. You got to have studied history. And the idea that these people can't even fucking start, like, scratch the fucking surface of what crypto is. And, okay, you don't like fucking proof of work, kill Bitcoin in your donations. But what the fuck are you doing? Like
just do stablecoin donations, man.
Yeah,
whatever.
Just to me, it's like, seriously, people, can we just grow the fuck up and everybody at least take the time? It's what I always say. There are two things that can save this world. Every human being learns analytical thinking, and every human being learns meditation. You do that, and the world will be a better place. Because all of us are just in this cycle of fucking stupid. And I put myself in that group. I mean, it's like these knee-jerk fucking reactions to things, and you get an opinion, and you don't do the research, and then you can't let go of the opinion, right? You can't. That's the opinion. I can't change my mind. I can't change what I think about that.
I can't learn. I can't learn.
Exactly. And that's the pitiful shit, with these people. It's like, and frankly, it's to the people that are to the extreme left of me in a world I at one point kind of identified with. And that's what most of them are. And they're idiots. They're emotional. They're worked up. To me, they're as bad as the Trumpers on the far right. they're a bunch of idiots, and that's exactly what we have here. And it just
Well, look, we talked about this before. I think when you go to the far left, far right, I mean, I always say the political spectrum is not linear; it's actually circular. So when you get to the
they come
edges, left
around.
and right,
Yeah,
they meet at the bottom, and
they're
they have the same ideology.
the same people. That's what Glenn Greenwald is. Glenn Greenwald is full on right wing now. I mean, he's gone all the way the fuck around your circle, Joe.
Like, yeah, and he's down. He's the one. He's living in Brazil now, right?
Yeah, he lives in Brazil. He lives in Brazil. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like I would say that I don't think 70% of the people in this country are capable of analytical thinking.
No, they're not. I will tell you. Did I tell you the story about my mom teaching analytical thinking?
No, I never heard that.
My mom. So there's a college in New Jersey that was the leaders of this program for teaching children analytical thinking. And for, I don't know, it's 10, 15 years, they studied this course with kids on in every facet of mental capacity and demographics, like every facet. Brilliant, slow children, average kids, poor children, rich children, middle-class children, and across the board, 100%, every time they did a study of teaching these analytical thinking courses to children, the kids' scores across the board soared. Like it was dramatic impacts. So my mom, with the professors, she had been a student at Texas Wesleyan College in Fort Worth, which was also working to advance analytical thinking for children. My mom was living in New Jersey at the time, got a job, was teaching at a school district, Summit School District, which is a wealthy community in Summit, New Jersey, got analytical thinking as a pilot program in the school system, right? Started teaching children. It was junior high, I believe. Started teaching children. It took 2 weeks for the religious fanatics to lose their total fucking shit because the kids came home and started asking questions.
Yeah.
And my mom's analytical thinking program was run out of the school district.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know where to go with that, but I'm going to say that, people get in these little bubbles.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just pick on small town America. That's not what I'm trying to do here. But when you aren't exposed to anything else or any other like challenges, we just get complacent in our thinking. I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, it's not just small town America, but I that's an easy one for me to kind of like analyze sort of the logistics of thought and how you're in these communities and everybody's thinking the same. And you're living in cities, on the other hand, sure, a lot of people think the same as you, but you also run into all these people that don't think like you and come from different backgrounds. And to me, until you get exposed to that, it doesn't mean you got to believe it, but you need, to know your enemy, you need to know how they think. I'm just using that's an extreme statement, but I just mean that you have to know your opponent. If you're going to play a football game against somebody, you scout them. You figure out what do they do? What are their tells? If you're going into a marriage, you pretty much know how she thinks or he thinks or whatever. You want to know how the other people think. And so to hide behind that is comforting in the short term, but in the long term, you don't win.
Yep.
So
I totally agree.
That's so, that's just very interesting. Sorry.
I encourage anyone, there's probably not a logical thinking or analytical thinking program in your child's school, but if your child's school has a debate program, I would highly encourage you to. I was a high school and college debater, and
a master.
I would highly. Oh, God, Joe, you just couldn't resist. You and Eli, the fucking Elon Musk level joke.
Well, this is a stand-up comic routine for me.
I am a master debater, but I would encourage you to put your children into debate because. While it's not a full-blown analytical thinking course, it requires your children to learn and argue both sides of every issue, right? Yeah. And so you're required to do the research, you're required to understand it, you're required to understand other people's points of views. It's a great way to train your brain to, for the most part, try to think of what the other side is thinking. If nothing else, it gives you a leg up in negotiations and life and business because it makes you think about the perspective of the other person. But in terms of analysis of viewpoints and putting yourself in other people's shoes, it also does a fantastic job that way as well. So
Yeah, I also think it does. It teaches people to sort of argue without getting emotional.
yeah, yeah,
So because too many times we see arguments, whatever, anywhere, and people just go ballistic,
yeah,
and go to the extreme of whatever their point was instead of trying to find middle ground. It kind of gets you thinking that way. And also something that I'm a big fan of is that, think about what you're going to say before you actually say it.
yeah,
Don't just start talking and then all of a sudden you're going down a path of saying something that is so extreme that nobody can come back from it.
exactly.
Really think about what your objectives are when you're engaging with someone. What are you trying to get out of that dialogue? Is
Right.
it my money back because the milk was sour? Is it I want to get on a wait list for something? Is it, hey, I need my car fixed today? Why isn't it fixed? Is it you charge me too much? What are your objectives? And then go into the discussion to get to that goal.
Yep.
Don't go in, you fucking don't go in like just laying on someone because they ripped you off. Go in, solve the problem.
Yeah.
And that's what I think in our society, and this is going to go back to Twitter and these serial polarizers. I think those types of things have so cleaved everybody into positions that it's very hard to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Because you already come in pre-thinking how you regard the other person based upon, what you think they are.
Yeah.
You see it on both sides.
You assume everyone's evil, right? It was really interesting for me when I was supporting the Andrew Yang campaign for president. There were a giant chunk of Trump supporters supporting Andrew Yang and wanted him to beat Trump. And I started interacting in Twitter and in the chat rooms with a lot of people that I never imagined at that time that I wanted to have anything to do with, right? And it was fascinating to stop and say, wait a minute, these people are actually just in pain or suffering or have a dilemma or were raised a certain way, and so anyway, okay.
No, you're right. Well, it's Sanders, it's any populist candidates. You're going to get the disaffected people, the people that feel left out or are left out.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of hard at that point when, someone wakes up and they're 35 and, maybe they don't have the skills to excel in this society now. And they got a bunch of kids, they got to, have big expenses coming for and wives, and they're trapped.
Yep.
And I get it, and everything just gets more expensive. But a lot of times, in rural America, they own the land and, they have the housing. They don't have a lot of money, but they're safe and secure. So, always kind of think about what you have and what you don't have. And, my parents were always strong in education ever since I was, little. I was always, reading and doing things like that. So they always encouraged me. And it was always something important to us, just like it's important to me and my daughter. And because that's honestly the only way you can survive. But if you're at a point where you're older and you don't have that, you can still go get it.
Yeah.
You can still go take community college classes. There's a lot of people. I've taken a community college class when I was in my 40s just because I wanted to learn about it.
Right.
But you go engage yourself and try to pick up the pieces and then, learn those analytical skills as best you can. And then, you can hone those in the crypto market too.
That's right.
You can dig your way out. And so it's never the end game just because you find yourself in dire circumstances that you just grew up into and didn't choose.
Well, and that's the problem, right? People feel like there's no exit. And while I was not raised in a circumstance where I was fortunate to be raised in a circumstance where there always was an easier exit from bad situations. The fact is that there almost always is a way to get around a bad situation, and it requires hard work and all of that, and it requires luck and it requires potentially other people to lend a hand. But there are a lot of in this space, like fucking DeFi, man. You want to come in and earn a living? There are 100 ways to learn while earning in this place, and there are thousands of people wanting to help you come, right? And so I think that's another, kind of great thing about what DeFi is doing. So
look at us. We talk about it all the time for free.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're not even, we're probably the second or third best group out there. There's probably one or two better than us, but I'm joking. But you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of so many free resources. You have to spend the time.
Yeah, but you got to do the work. You got to do the work. You have to have an internet connection, and you got to have a computer or a device of some kind. But after that, sky's the limit, people.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer that there's that while we measure people's IQs, ultimately most people can climb to the top, given the resources to do it. So anyway,
well, look at all these people that run like car washing services and yard services. I mean, they make. I mean, I see they're all over town, and it's these guys feed families.
Oh, I saw the
money. I saw send kids to college.
Yeah, so I was listening to Pomp's podcast the other day, and at the end of the thing, his brother asks a question of some of the guests where he says, "This weekend you have to make $1,000. What would you do? You have no money right now." And one of the guys said, "Oh, I would set up these beach events." Or no, you have like $100, I guess, to start. I don't remember what it was. Anyway, you've got some resources. And he says, I would set up like these beach romantic dinners for people and charge them $500 to set it up. And I was like, oh, that's a really cool idea. My wife and I are walking on the beach the other day, and there's this young couple setting up this elegant, beautiful, romantic beach scene for a couple. So as we walked in, we saw them setting it all up. It had flowers and fruit and a big arch around it and everything else. And then when we came back, we saw the couple that had bought it sitting there enjoying this beach dinner at sunset, But it was an example of people just kind of taking the resources they have around them and building a business and making money. So you're absolutely right.
One final note on that. I remember reading something, I think it was Mark Cuban, and they asked him, what would you, in that similar situation, you have no money and whatever, you got fired or something, or you have no jobs, what would you do? And he said he would do two things. First thing he would do is get a job waiting tables or bartending. So he'd have cash and food. And then he would pick up a sales job.
Yeah.
And go start selling. So basically use the cash from the waiting and bartending and the food to carry you while you go sell whatever you're selling.
Yeah.
But you have to dedicate on that stuff. It can't be like, one toe in. You got to go all in.
That's right.
But there is a way out. So
yep. Okay. So we're done pontificating today.
Yeah, I know we've been talking. I just realized it's almost 1:00. We've been just chatting away.
So real quick, Lido has updated their decentralization. I'm just going to post the links in this. We won't go into the details. They've updated their decentralization roadmap, but I found it because there's a pretty hardcore takedown of their decentralization plans. Some holes in it. They're raising concerns about the way that the nodes will be managed and who will have control and how the management of that will be determined, how the committees will be set up for that and everything else. So on one hand, I appreciate that Lido is trying to decentralize this. On the other hand, I think there's some holes that have to be fixed. The biggest concern though right now is that the massive control that Lido now has over the entire ETH2 liquid staking balance. And I totally agree with the Twitter poster that is of grave concern, right? Rocket is growing, so they have been growing, and Rocket is truly decentralized from the beginning, from what I understand. But at the same time, Lido controls too much, and if they go over 50%, then that's a massive hole in the security of the network. So again, what I love about DeFi is we're all having these discussions, right? People are having these discussions. It was interesting, and somebody popped into his discussion and said, hey, we're doing a spaces with the founders of Lido. You want to join in and discuss this? Like, I mean, that's the kind of shit that happens in DeFi, right? Somebody says they're doing something. Somebody else says you're stupid. Somebody else says, well, come, let's talk about it, right? And that to me is the beauty of everything we're doing here. I'm going to post this. I encourage everybody to read it. Because I think there's really good points across the board. I'm glad Lido's trying to decentralize, but at the same time, I want to make sure these things get done right. I don't want massive holes in the security. Real quick, Joe, it's funny. I got an alert about a Telegram group I joined a couple of weeks ago, whenever we were talking, months ago, we were talking about Telegram's attempt at a blockchain and how the SEC stopped them. The TON network goes on, right? It's an open source, decentralized network. And I got an alert from a project within the ecosystem called CryptoBot that has actually developed a full API so that people can trade, they can send, receive payments, et cetera, and integrate it with their Telegram groups and apps or integrate it with their apps. Here's the thing I don't understand. Like, I really think this has so much potential. When Telegram announced they were doing a blockchain, I was over the moon excited because I thought, hundreds of millions of users, easy textual interfaces, click buttons, etc., fast, great way to introduce people to crypto. What I don't understand is this blockchain only has $91,375 in volume in the last 24 hours, right? It's not getting any traction. And I'm going to try to interview some of the people that are still managing the project. It's got 411,000 wallets. The transactions are obviously small, 49 million transactions. So it's lots of tipping happening on Telegram with this platform. But, I don't see any bridges for it, which is critical. How are people getting their funds into the network, et cetera? But I still love this concept. So anyway, I just think it's interesting. And I think it has potential. So, Joe, did you have something urgent you want to talk about before I slash through my last few things?
No, nothing urgent. Okay. Mine were just like an NFL story about crypto and
Portuguese granted their first license to a bank for a crypto bank. So nice. Portugal's still upping their game on crypto friendly. It seems like every week there's something cool and new happening there. But a new report says Germany is the most crypto friendly country in the world. Passed Singapore after bullish signals in the first quarter, according to the latest ranking by Coin Club. I have no idea how they do this ranking, but that's very interesting. And I haven't heard a lot about Germany and crypto lately, but there's a lot of tech there. There's a lot of really smart developers and tech people in Germany. So I would assume that, that's got potential, but I haven't really looked to see where it is.
I mean, it makes sense, with the Baltics, they're so close with Estonia and Lithuania.
That's true. That's a good point.
They're pretty close to it. Yeah. So, and they're all, they're innovative. They're always looking for an edge. So
yeah, absolutely. I have nothing else that is need to be covered, Joe. I am done.
Mine were kind of anecdotal. One, I'll just go ahead and share it. Why not? Real quick. I thought they're entertaining. One was they're calling now the 7th president of the United States. Oh, this isn't going to go. My thing's done. Is that Andy Jackson? They're calling him the founder of crypto now because he was a populist and he wanted to break up the concentration at the Wall Street banks, basically. And so when he was elected president, he shut down the country's national bank in 1833 and redistributed all the funds to the state banks. So he decentralized banking. So there's an interesting article in Hacker Noon that draws a lot of parallels that it was the first kind of decentralization of banking.
Nice.
But definitely worth reading. And then the other thing I thought was interesting was that I saw an article on how the Dallas Cowboys became the first NFL team to add a digital currency platform as a sponsor Wednesday, agreeing to a long-term deal with blockchain.com. And then below at the recent owners meetings in Palm Beach, the league said it would allow teams to begin sponsorship deals with crypto companies. So you're going to see a lot more of these stadium deals in the NFL and other big sponsorships with the big crypto player, like the crypto.com one in LA or FTX here, with the basketball stuff.
Right.
Wait, crypto.com is the forum, right? Yeah,
no.
It's the Lakers.
Yeah.
I was just all of a sudden thinking, is that the Rams? But no, that's the Rams one is SoFi or whatever, right? The football stadium. I think it's SoFi.
I know SoFi. I know SoFi sponsors some. I just don't know which ones.
Yeah, so you're going to see a lot more deals in the NFL around crypto as well. So again, what does that mean? More awareness in the market, more people getting exposed to it and looking into it. I mean, I was at Consensus in New York 4 years ago. I remember I was standing across the street from the Hilton, and some tourists were there, and they're like, I don't want to like paraphrase accents because I always get in trouble with that, but they're like, what's that over there? And I'm like, and then they're all looking like, that's that crypto stuff, the Bitcoin stuff. That was as far as it got, Bitcoin, but they had heard about it. And I think they'd all heard about it because people had taken out second mortgages and bought the dip at 14 back in December 2017. We all know where that ended up. But the thing is that I think it's just more and more recognition going out to the communities. More and more people are going to be exposed. More and more people want to learn. And that's good for all of us. So very, very another positive user uptake story. A few other things that I saw something in Marketplace. I didn't really get a chance to read the whole thing, but a cryptocurrency for kids play, like teaching them how to do it,
Yeah,
use it,
Crypto
whatever.
Kids Summer Camp.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah,
It
having
looked pretty
run
cool.
having run summer camps, coding summer camps for kids for 3 years, I can tell you it's a brutal job, but it's very rewarding.
And then a lot of stuff, like, again, more stuff on, cryptocurrency going mainstream, but this is a couple days old, but more about, Republicans calling for preserving private sector innovation in crypto, Biden issuing executive order, and then a little summary about how it reduces transaction costs and speeds to increase privacy, blah, 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 blah. But, again, I see so much out there, people talking. And so even though I feel like we've been crabbing sideways for a while and bleeding out, I also feel like at the same time, there's this kind of momentum, because a lot of people are saying that everybody who's sold is already sold.
Yeah.
That there's really, most people are actually still holding that bought higher, feeling like the bottom's in. So I just feel like we need one catalyst to happen, something that
tip it over.
Yeah. And I think then people are going to start pouring in. I don't know if it's equity market contraction or if it's, income tax refunds. I mean, I think everybody's getting refunds this year, it looks like.
Yeah.
So anything that puts more fresh powder in the system is good. And once that starts, then the institutional guys will come pouring in again. So
totally
what do we have over here in comments there?
Corsa, I don't know which thing he's talking about, but Corsa TDK said, "Oh, holy shit." I'm not sure.
I think maybe James stuff, maybe.
I don't know.
James.
And then, well, it was before the Germany discussion. So crypto founders prefer the beaches of Portugal versus Germany. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And he said Germany also too close to Russia. This is so fun.
Yeah, no, it is funny whenever you're in like southern Spain or Portugal, it's just filled up with Germans and Brits. But it's like they're on holiday, because they get 3-week vacations every year, automatic. So they pack up the van again or van wagon or whatever and drive down to the beach and hang out there and do, you see a lot in Italy too, and do these like, vacations for 3 weeks, but frugal ones, they're not hanging out at the Four Seasons dropping 50 grand. They're off with the family. It's like a camping thing, like
exactly
like the Brits do when they go camping off.
Yeah.
What do they call it with their little campers?
I can't
remember what it's called, but they go to these little kind of compounds and, park in circles and have camping holidays. I mean, nature, why not?
Absolutely.
So, what do we got? And and the topless beaches too. That's always a good time.
Yeah.
The one thing I have learned is that Italian topless beaches, yes, very, very nice. But when you go to the Caribbean topless beaches or like some of the southern Spain stuff, when you get a lot of
careful,
I know, be careful. A lot of the people at nudist beaches and topless beaches aren't, how do I put this the right way? Ideal. But hey, let your freak flag fly. That's what it's all about.
That's
so if
right.
you want to run around, if you weigh 300 pounds and want to run around naked, go for it. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't either. Absolutely.
But it's not like it's a Playboy Mansion expedition. Let's put it that
way. On that note.
Yes, we will close out with Happy Easter, Happy Passover.
Happy Easter, Passover, happy
weekend.
Atheism, happy whatever.
Agnostic, happy Buddhist.
Whatever you are, we love you. We appreciate you watching. Please feel free to message me directly, DMs on Twitter, B05 Crypto. SoFan Comics says, "Happy Friday, everybody." He said they play volleyball and lots of bouncing balls. Happy Friday, man. Happy everything to everybody. Thank you for listening and watching. Please feel free to message me, Twitter or Telegram, B05 Crypto. Happy to hear your feedback, your thoughts, your ideas, projects we should be looking at, etc., etc. Joe, I hope you have a lovely weekend. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up, tick the little bell. Thank you very much. Tell your friends. Have a nice weekend.
See everybody on Monday. Suck